Hello, my brothers and sisters in Christ at Trinity Lutheran. This is Jeff Gribnau, your congregational president. It's been a few weeks, maybe actually a couple of months since the last time I spoke with you here from my home office. Now that we're finally coming out of quarantine, I'm very happy to hear that things are starting to get back to normal. Hopefully you're doing well and this message finds you in good health and good spirits. So there's a couple things I wanted to go over this evening. Just a couple of quick reminders. One is we have our school auction coming up starting this Friday. If you go online, you can find a link to all the different items that are going to be up for bid. You can start browsing through that and keep looking for more communications to come on that. This is one of the biggest fundraisers for our school, so I would encourage you to have a look, and where you can, please go on and bid often and bid high so we can raise a lot of money for the school. The other thing that I wanted to talk with you about this evening, obviously by now many of you have probably seen the notice from Pastor Dave that he is accepting the call that he was received from the Rocky Mountain District to be the assistant district president there. This is something that I think, it's always hard to deal with. We all love Pastor Dave. He's been a part of our congregation. He's been a friend for a very long time. And I know that you'll pray with me to wish him well and wish him God's blessings in the ministry that he has before him up in the Rocky Mountain District. So what that then leaves for us is we will be kicking off a process to call a new pastor. So I wanted to go over that a little bit with you at a very high level just so you can get an understanding about how this process is going to work. Fortunately, we have in our policy a description of how a call committee will be formed. So the policy states that the board of directors will nominate a call committee, and that committee will be made up of 7 individuals. The vice president of the board, per policy, is the chair of the committee, and then there will be 2 additional board members, 2 elders, and then 2 members at large from the congregation. So we met as a board just earlier this week, and we have nominated those members, and so I'm happy to share with you now who those are, and that way if you have questions you can reach out to them, or specifically reach out to Mark Menou, who's the vice president and will be the chair, or you can reach out to me. So as I mentioned, Mark, as our vice president, will be the chair of the committee, and then our 2 board members we picked were Christina Boudreaux and Jim Slothower. Our 2 elders that we picked are Gary Buuck and Glenn Sunde. And then for our 2 at-large members, we've selected Brad Burns and Jeannine Schutte. So hopefully what you'll see here, what we were really hoping for was we wanted to get a very good cross-section of the entire congregation. So we have folks that are parents to children in our school. We have young members, we have older members, we have traditional worshipers, we have contemporary worshipers. We really got a nice mix in there. And so that was really something that we were striving for. So all of those 7 individuals have been contacted and have agreed to serve on the call committee, and I really appreciate their willingness to do that. There were several folks that reached out to me or other board members expressing interest in being on the committee, and I want to thank you for your willingness to serve. Unfortunately, with only 7 spots, we had to be very selective in how we could make this work. But I want everyone to understand that this is going to be a very inclusive process. These 7 individuals, while they are tasked with working with our district to be able to develop a list of finalists, to do a lot of the interviews and a lot of the paperwork and the administrative work in this process, these 7 individuals are not picking our pastor. First and foremost, God is picking our pastor, and I take comfort in that, and I hope you do as well, that God is in control, and I have no doubt that through this process, He will reveal to us who's the next individual that He believes is right to lead Trinity into the future. Throughout this process, we will be engaging with the congregation, with our church staff routinely, and that's going to kick off here pretty quick. So Mark has already made contacts with the district. One of the first things that we'll need to do is develop sort of a profile of our church. This will be very in-depth. We'll go over everything from attendance records, demographics, financial resources, and financial history, etc. It's going to be very inclusive, and not only will the profile be developed by these individuals, but you also will see that we will be contacting certain members of the congregation to also participate in developing sort of the profile of Trinity. And as we go along, we'll collect names, and then these individuals, or these 7 individuals, will help us sort of pare that down into a manageable list that then will come to the board. The board will then approve, and then we will begin more in-person interviews, phone interviews with some of the final candidates. Once all that's done, the call committee will also bring their recommendations and their data to the board, and the board will then sign off on ultimately who we're going to bring to the voters. And that's when you, the voters of the congregation, have the ultimate say, because this individual will need to be voted on at a voters meeting and approved by the congregation at whole. So if you have any questions or concerns, please do reach out to me, reach out to any of our board members, reach out to the members on the call committee. I'd ask that you remember these people in your prayers. They have a very long task ahead of them, a very difficult task ahead of them. And again, I'm very confident that as we go through this process that God will reveal to us who is the right person to come lead Trinity into the future. So with that said, that's really all I wanted to share. I know it's very high level right now. We're just sort of getting this process kicked off, but I wanted you to know that as a board, we've taken very swift action. We're working very closely with Pastor Bolt and Pastor Johnson from the Southern District to get this process started, and we'll continue to be as open and transparent as we can about this process going forward. If you have any questions, let us know, and until then, God bless and have a good evening.